do. And within that, what happens when the money runs out? What happens? The federal money that we quote are getting, when it runs out, it'll go quickly, by the way. When it runs out, who's left to pay for it? I ask anyone too to show me the research of these 40 states. What has it done for their healthcare systems? Does anyone know? Has anyone asked that question? Because to me, that's of vital importance to see if this program actually did what it was supposed to and intended to do. Again, as mentioned earlier, I've spoken to healthcare professionals as well, those dealing with hospitals and specifically rural hospitals and saving them. And it'll only last 2 to 3 quarters, and then that money is gone. And then we don't have any control because we are then controlled by a federal program. We don't need more government. We need less government, more local control.
Thank you, candidates. Our next topic is K through 12 education. Senator Reddi, you will respond first. Kansas students are still recovering from academic loss during the pandemic. Some legislators argue that promoting school choice through voucher programs is how the state can address this issue, while others say we should invest more in public schools instead of diverting funds toward private options. What approach would you take to ensure all Kansas students can access the K through 12 education that meets their academic needs? Senator Reddi, you have 3 minutes.
Absolutely. As a public school teacher, and as part of being part of NEA and the Local Teachers Union president, I completely support funding public schools and special ed if we could. So we've completely funded public school systems for the past several years, and we put in $75 million into our special ed program. You know, we have over 90,000 students in special ed, and which also includes our gifted program students. We have the Manhattan-Ogden School District, Riley County School District, and the Blue Valley Randolph School District, and they're all doing really well. They're all public schools. My opposition to sending our public funds to private schools is oversight and accountability. When I'm a teacher, anybody can walk into my room, any parent, any administrator, anybody can walk into my room and watch me teach. I am assessed constantly. Parents have expectations of what I'm sending home. I am evaluated. My KSDE sends me my standards. I have to document everything. Even when I do a field trip, I have to document why that field trip, how it's aligned to curriculum. So everything is measured, everything is documented. I am held accountable every single level. If you want taxpayer funds to go to private schools, we need to have the same type of accountability because we have oversight over your money. If it's a homeschool, you need that type of oversight. I can't just walk into a home and see how they're doing. And I don't know what happens with mandatory reporting. In school, I've had to do mandatory reporting as a first grade teacher plenty of times. So we need those types of oversight of parameters there. I think one of my other concerns is that's with the voucher program. One of my concerns is separation of church and state. So when my opponent was superintendent of Wabansi School District in 2022, he introduced a program called the Respect Project. It's on the website, I believe, of Gateway to Better Education. And on that website, it says a lot, but one of the key things I want to point out is we also help educators teach about the Bible and Christianity as it relates to curriculum. That's a concern for me. I'm a woman of faith. My husband is a man of faith. We go to a different religious organization every Sunday, not because I'm campaigning. That's what I did with my grandmother for as long as I can remember. We respect all religions. In schools, you can compare and contrast religions. You can talk about it in a global manner because everybody has their own religion, and we should respect it. But to teach the Bible and Christianity as part of a curriculum, that's where you have to separate church and state. You have churches for that, you have schools that teach that, and that's where that needs to be. My concern is if my opponent goes into the legislature, there will be a bill introduced so that this can be authorized. There was already a bill introduced earlier, a couple of years ago, to have chaplains be as biblical advisors to our students because they felt mental health challenges were linked to lack of spirituality. So that's something I'm worried about.
Mr. Starnes, you have 3 minutes to respond.
In regards to the vouchers, I believe in school choice. I believe parents should have the right to choose where their children go, but I don't believe, again, I follow the law. The law says that public dollars are abused, public tax dollars are used for public. The money should not follow the students. It's pretty simple. It does not and should not follow the students. However, there are opportunities to be able to help those that are choosing another form of education of their children. The things that I would say as far as the separation of church and state, to your comment, there's no such thing in law. There is nowhere. Nothing in law that says separation of church and state. As far as the Respect Project, it's First Amendment right. All religions, all groups, knowing their rights within the school setting, that's what it was about. And oh, by the way, in Kansas law, it does say the Bible may be used in schools for study. I also believe in individuals' choices and individuals' rights. Much to your point, I believe that you should be able to worship in the way that you want with you and your husband, however that may be, to do it freely, and that's part of our amendment as far as our rights and things that we are granted. I will fight for individual rights. I will fight for local control, because local decisions at schools should be made by their own local school boards. If there are issues locally, they should get involved and vote other people into these positions. A local control as far as schools. I understand the oversight piece. I understand the things regarding the mandatory reporting of a situation. Yes, but our duty should be protect all students at all times, no matter what that takes. The other thing I would say, the budget is the largest part of the state, or excuse me, the education is the largest part of the state budget. We're going to be rewriting a state finance bill in the next 2.5, 3 years during our terms, whichever that may be, as far as the Senate. I think it would be vitally important, the largest expense in the state budget, to have a former school superintendent being involved in rewriting or writing that budget. That experience that I have cannot be measured and should be utilized. I'm sure Usha was a great teacher, as I have seen and heard. She won the USD 383 Teacher of the Year. But that is way different than a school budget as a school superintendent.
Senator Reddi, you have 2 minutes to rebut.
Yes, thank you. As far as budgets, I've managed our city budget, and I'm talking about a $25 billion budget for the state. So I know a little bit about budgets. Let's go back to schools. We're talking about taxpayer funds. We're talking about taxpayer money. And I don't want to say anything more except that I do believe in the separation of church and state.
The next topic this evening is affordability. Mr. Starnes, you will answer the following question first. 46% of renters and 21% of homeowners in District 22 are cost burdened, meaning that they pay more than 30% of their monthly income on rent or a mortgage. What are your plans to reduce the number of cost burdened households in District 22? You may begin.
Thank you. Well, first of all, affordability is a high priority, and to my previous statements, we're taxing them out of Manhattan. We're taxing them out of our state. We need to lower the taxes. Just giving more doesn't solve anything. We need to look at our expenses. We do it in our own home budgets. And affordability is the fact that, hey, we may not have to be able to get that this month. We got to tighten our belt and take care of things. So within affordability, it isn't just giving more and expect a return on that. We've got to be able to provide good paying jobs. We got to be able to provide affordable and accessible housing and childcare. And the way to do that is lowering taxes. We have the money in the bank to be able to do it. Let's use that money and help people to be able to get affordable housing and things that they need. The other thing that I did while I was Reddi County Superintendent is incentivize childcare. That is an important factor, and it is an issue as far as affordability. 1, is it affordable? 2, is it accessible? At Reddi County Schools, we opened a after and before school daycare for our employees. I think that we could be doing the same thing to incentivize business, to help businesses become more effective and efficient and make things affordable for them by having the ability to have childcare on site, knowing that the people that are working for them will be there because their children are there because they know that they can have a place with childcare. But again, affordability and accessibility, I think, comes down to one thing. Again, back to the issue that's 90% of the things that we've talked about and continue to be heard about. We've got to lower taxes. By lowering taxes, then we can make things more affordable for people.
Senator Reddy, your response.
Yes, thank you. We are giving back $2 billion worth of taxes in the next 5 years, 470 million next year alone. I don't remember the numbers for the next few years, so that is already in the works. What's in this tax plan that I keep talking about? Well, the income tax exemption for all Social Security has been in this tax plan, so nobody has to pay income tax if they're on Social Security benefits. We did increase the child care tax benefits from 25% to 50% that can be used for these things as well. The state food sales tax, excuse me, will be completely exempt in January 2025, so you don't have to pay that, like I said earlier. Again, we do have programs available for childcare assistance and trying to make sure that they are taken care of. There are programs and grants also for businesses that want to have childcare in their businesses. The thing with this is it gets very costly because there are specific regulations you need to have for buildings that are going to have infants through 5 years old. You can only have like 3 children per teacher. They have to have different types of facilities. So that's cost burdensome for a lot of businesses. Can we do it in other ways where you can have a program pay a certain amount when their child goes to child care center? Absolutely. The issue we have right now is long wait lists. That's why we are working on removing licensure fees or trying to make sure we have more people coming into that business sector. Why don't we have more staff in that sector? They're not paid well. So we need to increase wages. Looking at wages as we try to make it more affordable would be one way to do it. Making sure they have health insurance, Medicaid expansion, $7 billion going to other states, that's your taxpayer money. So these are some things we can do and we should be doing. So let's keep coming back to that conversation. Thank you.
Mr. Starnes, you have 2 minutes for.
Great, thank you. As far as the taxes, again, those taxes were voted more times by you not to be cut than for tax cuts. So the idea that we're giving these back, again, it's Republican-led Senate and legislation that got the job done in regards to cutting the taxes. We'll follow the regulations. I think that's important. But at the same time, there are some regulations and red tape that are strangling the ability to make things affordable. And we need to protect our children at all costs. We need to ensure that they're safe. But beyond that, there are a lot of things that we can look at as far as the restrictions and red tape that childcare, as well as others, are having to go through as far as affordability goes. Again, the issue is cutting taxes. We've got to get taxes down. The question was affordability. Affordability, to make things affordable, you've got to cut taxes. I understand a fair and equal wage for their work, but again, when those wages are raised, where is the money coming from? That's passed on to the consumers. So we're in this continuous cycle of trying to pay for this when taxes are a good way to be able to help solve the issue.
Thank you, candidates. Our final topic is the economy. Senator Reddi, you will be responding first. Over the next decade, Kansas is projected to need 234,000 workers to keep up with economic demand. We are expected to fall short of having enough workers due to stagnant population growth and outmigration among young Kansans. What should the state do to meet the workforce needs of the future? Senator Reddi, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Absolutely. So the economy has been a primary focus for the governor as well as for the Department of Commerce. You know, we have lots of projects and works right now. We are making micro-credentialing, for example. We're trying to find a variety of pathways for people to get their degrees and to go into the fields of tomorrow and not today. So those are there already. Governor Kelly has, we have 1,277 new economic development projects, close to $20 million worth as far as projections, and 68,000 jobs that are already onboarding. We do have an unemployment rate of under 4%. So definitely the workforce is filled and we need to get more people in. I think some of the workforce incentives that we talked about with schools is already in place. Broadband was one of them that I talked about. but improving quality of life. So what do young people want? Well, young people are looking at transportation. Is there public transportation? Are we being economically friendly? Can we, not everybody wants a car. Are we taking care of making sure that our needs are met as far as housing and childcare, and as we spoke to earlier? I think the other big piece of this is reproductive rights. How are we taking care of women's health? This is an important topic for a lot of young people. Medicaid again, or do we have good health insurance? How are we taking care of their health? If they're going to have a child, if they have different resources that they need to take care of. Not everybody's going to go into a job that pays $100,000. As a public school teacher, I didn't go in it to make money, but I certainly didn't go in it to be poor. I only made $35,000. And even now, if I went back in, it would be $50,000. And I was a divorced mom for a long time. During that time, I had to figure out if I was going to put food on the table or fix my flat tire. So those were decisions we had to make every day. So I understand as far as why we need the health care, why we need reproductive rights and women's health care. I understand we need to look at more child care provisions. And I also know that we are cutting taxes. Can we do more? We will absolutely keep doing more. I'm on the taxation committee. And when it said that you didn't vote till the last one, you opposed all of them, yes, because it was giving more money to the rich. I cannot vote for a flat tax. That is not good for the rest of you who are trying to live on an affordable salary. That's not going to be good for me. As a legislator, I make $2,500. When I was a city commissioner, I made $400 a month. So certainly I'm not on a get-rich scheme anywhere. So I would like to make sure that I'm taken care of, at least at a level that I don't have to worry about paying my electricity bill. So let's make sure we are addressing healthcare and women's health as well during this process. Thank you.
Mr. Starnes, you have 3 minutes to respond.
As far as the economy, I work personally on that as a educational coordinator for Build Up Kansas, a career technical education vocational program, and building up skilled labor in schools. We are able to provide jobs and providing job opportunities. There's, as I mentioned earlier, 58,000 construction jobs in the next 3 to 5 years in Kansas. Average starting salary, $60,000. We're doing things, I'm doing things to help create jobs to ensure that students and families have the ability to be able to make it. And I think that that is valuable and very important. I think we look as far as the economy and why people are leaving. Again, the out-migration, in my opinion, is due, as I've heard on doorsteps again and again and again. I'm being out-taxed of leaving Manhattan, leaving Riley County, leaving Kansas. We've got to do something about the taxes. I know I keep harping about it, but that's an issue that needs to be addressed because everything else, all these other things happen, but taxes and the importance of having a ability to make a living trump almost anything. All the other things, yes, they're important. Healthcare, agreed. The importance of protecting our children, agreed. Importance to make sure that there is access for everyone, agreed. But as far as the differences, we need to be looking at things from a fiscally responsible way as far as our economy. To do that, we may possibly need to be cutting budgets. Again, all I've ever heard is more, more, more. And I want to see results of what our more, more, more is producing. What are we doing to help our people? What are we doing to help retain people? What are we doing to attract business? Businesses don't want to come where they're taxed out of the situation and have to pass that tax increases on to the consumers. We're losing businesses. We're losing big businesses that are vital to our communities. So I would, again, just in the same sense, from a personal standpoint, as far as economy, look to our own personal budgets. What do we do when we need to have a situation where we're not making enough? We look to find another job. We look to increase our funding in some way, whether I get a higher degree or I invest in something, or I cut my expenses. So again, I think affordability, accountability, and with the economy, we need to be looking as well at both ends of the spectrum, providing equitable, good jobs for people, attracting them and keeping them in Kansas, but also look to cut expenses so that your dollar and my dollar goes further as far as the economy is concerned.
Senator Reddi, you have 2 minutes to rebut.
Yes, we did talk about cutting taxes to a lot of extent at this time. and we will continue to talk about cutting taxes. So that is already on track. Our economy is growing. I just talked about the number of projects we have going on, whether it's Project Panasonic, Integra. We have a variety of lot of jobs coming in. The World Cup is coming, and we are looking at having more jobs, but also maybe public transportation, because a lot of international families don't have cars. So that's something we are also looking at. So I think when we talk about the economy, our economy is thriving. People that want to stay in Kansas are looking for a reason to stay. And sometimes it's the job, and sometimes it's the quality of life. But I would say, even the ones that are not getting $60,000 a year, there is dignity in labor. There is dignity in labor. They deserve a good life. They deserve to have food on the table. They deserve health insurance. They deserve to wake up the next day and not worry about doing 2 or 3 jobs. That's what this country is about. That's what this state is about. So if I have somebody, like I said, I've never made 60,000. That's great. But I loved every single job I did, and I did it well. But it wasn't for the money. But I certainly don't want to be poor. I can run for office now because I have kids off and they're living their own lives. So I don't have to worry about that. But you still need waitresses. You still need customer service when you go to certain places. You still need teachers. You still need paraprofessionals. You still need these workers. That's just hard labor. Give them a break. Let's look at Medicaid expansion. Let's look at quality of life for them, not just salary. There's a comprehensive way to retain and recruit people to Kansas.
Thank you, candidates, for answering all of our topic questions. To conclude the debate, you each have 3 minutes to give a closing statement. Mr. Starnes, you will go first.
First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and hopefully I can earn your vote. I think, again, as mentioned, get people to vote. Make sure people are voting and taking care of their duties in a civic responsible way. Be informed and go vote. If we don't have people voting, nothing will change. And again, start locally, and then we can make changes globally. So ensuring that our local people are voting. My differences, yeah, they are different. We are different. Within that, again, I would point out in Manhattan, the legacy that's been left. This can't be, as far as taxes and increases in spending, cannot continue with that type of legacy at the state. My opponent is the second most partisan voter in our Senate. As far as anything that she's been able to do, she sponsored 2 bills that never moved forward. Within that, the leadership, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure everything's okay. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. Again, that's not the kind of leadership that we need. Continue with the spending, and have no accountability on what the product is producing. I will fight for individual landowner and all individual rights. Those that are granted things under the Constitution, I will follow the law. I will be unequivocally never sacrifice my moral commitments or my stance as a person, but at the same time, I listen and I want to know what others think. I think 80 to 60%, 60, 80%, most things of us can agree on, because obviously we care about people. Our people are hurting. Again, I hear that again and again, to the point of the fact that they're fed up, that they've had enough, and they want to see change happen. I can be a part of that change. I can move things forward. And I promise you that I will look at all interests to ensure we help and protect Kansas and move things forward that help all people in Kansas. I will be a common sense, responsible senator. I will take issues and look at them from a fiscally responsible way, as well as in a common sense way. Looking at all issues to determine, even if I don't agree with it, how can this help Kansas? How can this help Riley County? From a purely logistical standpoint, I've talked with Republican leadership. They understand that I am going to hold them accountable as them as well hold me accountable. I have a leverage point as far as being the vote needed in the Senate. Within that leverage point is then what is Manhattan? What is Riley County? What is K-State? What is MATC? What are farmers and ranchers getting out of that particular legislation?
We do have to move on. Thank you, Mr. Starnes.
Yes.
Senator Reddi, your closing statement.
Thank you. Once again, thank you all for hosting this evening. I'm glad to see so many in the audience. I just want you to know, every decision I make is carefully considered, it's grounded in fact, and guided by rationale. I value relationships I've built over the years as a teacher and as your city commissioner. These relationships help me make better decisions in the legislature. With the community members and community leaders I have, I feel comfortable emailing them or even texting them because bills come by so fast, you need quick information. So I know the experts that I can get feedback from really quick. Kansans value hard work and Kansans value results. I have a history of doing both. You see me every day, everywhere, working for you. If you want to meet with me, I'm there. I try to make time for all of you. One thing you may have received was those Chinese cards about my vote on China. I want to make sure that you understand I have never supported allowing foreign entities like China to purchase land in Kansas. The bill failed. It failed because of a strong opposition from the Kansas Farm Bureau and other organizations because they knew and recognized that it threatened the property rights of our farmers and our landowners. It was deemed unconstitutional by exposing the state to potential loss. You know, each of those mailers cost anywhere from $10,000 or more. Several of you received 4 or 5 of them. You're receiving text messages. My opponent has money from Liberty First Project as well as Americans for Prosperity pouring in by hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably close to 200,000, because we didn't even start advanced voting yet. You're going to get more, and I know that's not going to be fun, but I want you to look them up and what they stand for. It's difficult for me to see how he can hold the Republican leadership accountable when they are investing in his vote. My opponent is a very nice person, but he is not as moderate as he seems here. His vote is already counted on for the supermajority. A supermajority means 27 votes to overturn the governor's veto. That means they don't have to work across the aisle. Once they have those 27 votes, that's it. I can fight for you as hard as I want, but it's not going to work because they're not going to need me. You only have 11 Democrats. We're not a threat. His vote is already counted for in the supermajority, which concerns me because my concern is he will vote for vouchers. He will vote against reproductive rights. He will vote against Medicaid expansion, and he will follow extreme legislation. I know this because many moderate traditional Republicans have left the legislature for not following leadership. That's why we don't have many moderates. I love serving you. This community is my home. You've helped me raise my children in good times and bad times. I love this community, and I don't take a single vote for granted, and I don't take a single individual for granted. It's been an honor to serve you as your senator, and I hope you give me the chance to continue my service to you. Thank you. My name is Usha Reddi, and I'm asking for your vote on or before November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reddi. Mr. Starnes. Thank you, Andrew and Michael, for leading tonight's discussion as well. Before you all go home this evening, there's some important election information I'd like to share. The deadline to register to vote or update your registration if you recently moved is next Tuesday, October 15th, excuse me. You can go to ksvotes.org. There's a QR code on the screen to visit that website. It takes less than 5 minutes to register to vote. I see we have a lot of students in the audience. That's great to see. While you guys are here at K-State, you live most of the year here, you pay taxes here, you learn, you work here, so you should register to vote here as well. Make your voice heard in our local politics. Also, early voting starts next Wednesday, October 16th, and goes until November 4th. There are 2 early in-person voting locations this year. One is at the elections office in downtown Manhattan, as always, as well as here in the K-State Student Union, 2 floors above us in the Bluemont room. Both locations, anyone registered to vote in Riley County can go vote there. You can also request a mail-in ballot by visiting ksvotes.org. Also takes only a few minutes to request that ballot.
Make sure you request it by October 29th. It's super convenient to vote from your home that way, and you have to get it back in the mail by Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 5th, which brings me to my last point. Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. If you prefer to vote on that day, polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can visit the Secretary of State's website, the QR code up there that says Voter View, to get an idea of where your polling location is, as well as view a sample ballot so you know who the candidates are that want to represent you. So with that, thank you all again for coming. Make sure you have a plan to vote. Make sure you vote, and have a good night.
Can you send me the YouTube again?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
You're a big help.
Gotcha.
Thanks
Yeah,
for being here, Sue.
the guy only gave him notes.
Thank you. So glad you were here.
Oh, yeah.